What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Heck versus Hell, where the truth we tell. Hello, welcome, and welcome back. Wherever it is that you are listening to this on, hello again. Yeah, I really need to get better at the intros, but thank you for tuning in with us. Thank you for being a part of the RDDC family. Thank you for lending an ear, right? For actually using them and wanting to seek more of God. And thank you for allowing us to be the vessels to do so, because we know there are so many people out here that speak and talk and preach about the Word of God. And we do it in our own way, in our own fashion. And, we've heard some of the feedback that you were able to submit, and it was really great. It was encouraging. It was amazing, and I very much appreciate it. Every aspect of it, even those that are just listen in, that don't put a comment, that don't give a like, that don't, even you. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for taking a chance on you, and everyone in between, of course. If you're hearing this, even if you're a hater, even if you're just listening to this to try to say, hey, you know what? Hector's a phony. Hector's here doing this and that, whatever it may be. Thank you for taking the time to listen to it, because maybe even in doing so, some of the message that God has put on our hearts has gotten to you. Okay, so without more fluff, and not to get all sentimental, what do they be saying in the movies and stuff? Don't get all sentimental on me. No, it's good. It's good to open up. It's good to be vulnerable, and it's good to acknowledge those situations. And it is something that I am learning to do more so, to give merit where merit is due, even within myself. And that's exactly one of the directions that we're taking this conversation to. And it's always upwards. It's always an upwards angle of how we are taking it, because God is above us. In hierarchy, in metaphorically, in any way that you can think of, God is above us. So we're always going to be aiming up, and that's always where our conversation should be. Even though I might have a couple idle talk, idle conversations, idle speech whenever I'm not on the show and not delivering the message I may be. We're all human, we're all learning, and that's one thing I want to acknowledge, because I heard a message and a shout out from a man that sounded like, we've made some sort of impact. And I very much appreciate your message. If you're listening to this, I don't think you mentioned your name on the actual testimony or feedback that you gave verbally, audibly. Although, once we get it, I'll be sure to address it. And thank you for submitting that, by the way. But it talks about how, basically, you said something along the lines of when you get your stuff together. And you already do. That's one thing that I want to say, is you already do. Now, this is going to be a different type of angle to look at it from. Is going to be two angles. One is you are exactly where you need to be. So getting your stuff together, yeah, I understand. We need to have a little bit more knowledge in certain areas to be able to flourish properly in those avenues. But where you currently are, you are exactly where you need to be, because one, you understand that the walk of God is something that is almost never attainable, really, in the sense of perfection, because there's two races whenever it comes to that. And Paul speaks about one of the races going towards the crown, races though you're winning, races though you are winning souls and competing against people, and the glory is the crown. That is an amazing race to race. And another one is racing towards becoming as much of Christ as you can be. And the fact that you are acknowledging that you are not there yet shows that you are on the way, and you're at least trying to make the steps forward to change. So give yourself that merit to say, hey, you know what? I'm doing something. because even people, and that's one thing that I had to look at myself also is, man, would I even go to heaven? It's been a lot more rare because I understand very deeply that it has to be from the point of knowing that we are redeemed through the blood, through the sacrifice that was made. But even asking myself the directions that I take, am I taking the right steps? Am I doing the right moves? Different things that I question, and wanting to align more so with God and the Spirit. It shows our heart that it is something that we desire. It is something that we crave and reach towards, which really shows how much we aspire and desire to be closer to them. Yet we also have to look at the fact. So it's a heart check. It's a good heart check. Seeing where we are internally in our heart, where our desires are. And it is a manner of putting God first, putting the kingdom of God first. Seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, right? And that's what we are seeking. It shows us that is what we are seeking. Because yes, I understand, we have to understand, hey, this is where we're at right now. We have to love ourselves from where we're at. We can also have that desire of wanting to become better, but simultaneously, we have to love ourselves where we are. And in the same way, we have to acknowledge, hey, we are here because we need to be here. We are here because this is where God placed me to be. This is the perfect timing. That's one thing that I very, very deeply understood in making certain runs. Man, I want to know, I'm actually might have to have some legal consultation as to how much I can speak about certain situations, because as I've mentioned before with my cases and stuff, they got kind of dismissed. Some got dismissed. Others were a little bit of a what is it called? I made a little deal when it came to, well, I would plead for a plea deal, whatever it's called, and then another one got dismissed as well, just thrown away, discarded. Yet those dismissed ones, they might be able to be reopened, so I don't want to go too much into certain aspects. But whenever I first encountered God, and I'm probably going to have to write it in the book, to be honest with you, but whenever I first encountered God, it was in a place that I never expected it to be, because I was doing things that were pretty illegal, and it was a wonderful encounter. It had so much space, and I was doing a lot of driving, so it's not like I could be too unfocused. I wasn't over here on my phone scrolling through stuff. I wasn't on the phone talking to people. I wasn't thinking of the next move. I was driving to a destination where I needed to drive. Sure, I was doing a little bit of plotting in between, but I had a lot of time to drive and be within myself, which was something I never allowed myself to do. And it's something that even now, it's a little more rare to do, because there's so much stuff to do every single day. There's so much movements that we are putting into place and putting into play when it comes to the whole RDDC syndication, as well as different branch offs of all of Spirit and Mind Elevation as well. And there's just so much to do that those moments are scarce. They're rarer now. And it's something that we should definitely take time to do, show our love for ourselves, really. And I was actually going to take a different route in this episode, but this has to be where he wanted me to go, because it's so difficult. It's so difficult to try to truly find your identity externally. Sure, you can go and use external factors to support the identity that was already placed within you from certain notions, but you wouldn't catch it. And if you did, it would be super difficult to catch and to put as a reinforcement to that identity externally. And what I mean by that is, In the same way we go when we take memories, we take experiences to reinforce a belief. I was actually talking to my spouse about that. Well, about to be spouse, right? It's been about to be for a little while now, but about to be spouse. About that too, about how there's certain things I don't want my children to know. There's certain things I don't want my children to have the knowledge of, in a sense, because it can create fear and it would mold their reality in a different manner. And it's not to be ignorant, right? It's not to make them ignorant. It's not to hide or deceive certain things from them. And hey, I might be making a mistake too. I might be making a mistake and not saying certain things as well. But I don't want them to have fear. One of the things that I don't want them to really know about to a certain depth is even like bacteria. I don't want them to be overly clean, because I firmly believe that my good immune system came from me not knowing too much, playing in the dirt, sticking my hands in the dirt, putting little things off the ground in my mouth when I was younger, and different things like that. And it built up my immune system to the point where I only remember like 2-3 times that I was sick, up until I don't even know what age, probably up until like the late teens, actually, when I started doing a little more substances that I feel weaken my immune system. But things like that, because my spouse, she is one of those little more of a clean freak type of people, and personally I feel like that has weakened our immune system drastically. And she tries to use that whole thing about cleanliness is holiness next to godliness. And it's a little different. So, okay, I'm getting off a whole different tangent right now, but it comes from the point of what we truly believe. And in that mannerism, we have, even if we have a fear that has been placed on us from a very young age, say we have a fear of abandonment, and we take that and put on that personality, put on that persona. That's really where I want to take the conversation to. We're going to go and project it. We're going to go and give off that energy. We're going to go and whenever we step into whoever's reality we're stepping into at that moment in time, they feel it, and that vibration is there, even to the point where the other person's thoughts may begin to think and ponder abandonment, or abandoning that person, or not trying for that person, right? So there's so many different aspects, there's so many different areas of what we can go down, but that's one thing that we have to do for ourselves, is take those and see where it is that we lie within ourselves. What beliefs do we have that are not serving us, that are not progressing us towards being in the fullness of the kingdom of heaven, or aligning with our mission and our goal within God? And it's a huge form of love, because in the same way how, and maybe you feel the same way too, of not wanting your child to go through something, so you try to do the opposite. And in the same way, there has to be a healing process. There has to be an understanding of where it is, and then a healing process for it. And that is true love, because just going against it doesn't make it love. If you go and your child falls down whenever they stand up to try to walk, and they fall down and they cry, you don't pick them up and say, "You're never walking now. Now you can never walk. We'll keep you away from the ground as long as we can." It's not love. That is over protection in a way, and it doesn't come from anything. It's a point of pushing past it whenever you comes to that scenario. So in the same way, why would we go and try to be completely against whatever caused us trauma, whatever caused us pain? We have to heal from it first to have that balance, because if you're doing it over on one side. That's why even whenever it comes to the left and right wing, right? Whenever you talk about politics, there's a left wing and the right wing. You can be too much on one side, and God is a perfect balance. That's why they were able to come up with so many different religions, so many different practices that speak about balance, because God is the perfect balance. That is what we have to be. That is true walking in the Spirit, because it doesn't say, hey, the kingdom of heaven is to the right, the path to life is to the right, and the path to death is to the left. It says, narrow is the way to life, and wide is the gate to death. So it's a balance. It's a harmony. And that's truly what love is taking yourself out of the situation. And it sounds super ironic and paradoxical to say, but it's taking yourself out of the situation, taking your ego out of it, sacrificing. It is something that I was never taught, not fully at least. And being able to understand it now is really amazing, so loving ourselves on that mannerism and that level is something that we have to do, and loving the journey of what we are on, because it's going to be stressful, but stress is never going to leave. That's why Christ said, my peace I leave to you, because my peace is out of this world. It's something that we have to choose. So we can choose to go day by day being miserable, day by day looking at the negative, or looking at things in the light, looking at things with gratitude, because it could be so easy for us not to be here the next day. It could be so easy, and we don't give thanks for that. So I don't want to tell you, hey, I hope everyone makes their New Year's resolutions, right? Because I'm recording this. If you're listening to this some other time, I'm recording this right now on January 2nd. And I don't want to say, hey, well, New Year's resolution, whenever you can't appreciate the time you're even given. You can't appreciate the time that you've already lived. You've experienced even the month, the week, the day, the moment that you're living. You can't even be grateful for it. So why would you come through with a resolution that you know you're going to drop off? And it's not about taking that monumental step. Sure, there's moments where we have to make huge decisions and decide, I'm going to start doing this. And that's exactly what you could be doing at this very moment of listening to this, is making that decision to no longer live in a state of apathy, in a state of grumbling, right? I call it complaining. People call it grumbling. People call it whatever they want to call it. Give it whatever label you want to give it. There's always a situation where you can look at it from so many angles. People can look at the same tree, and one person has a memory of how they fell off and broke their arm from it, so they just hate that damn tree. And other people could look at it and see opportunities in it. And other people can look at it and imagine and wonder of the glory of how every single leaf is so intricately made, even to the point where they consume what we breathe out in order to give us breath. And such a beautiful structure where even what we see is a duplicate of what we don't see, the groundedness, the roots. And look at it from that magnificent view. Yet it's all what you choose to look at it with, the perspective that you choose. What perspective will you decide on? I love each and every one of you. I hope you have a blessed one. And as always, we will catch you on the flip side.